It's about kicking ass in as many ways as possible.
Halo 2 is about guns and low guns.
We want our game to look like a movie. We want it to look like something that's just across the board.
This is Bungie. This is also Bungie.
The world didn't feel dangerous.
The world needs to feel like there is something sinister underneath the surface.
Our hero is the world.
I have a problem. I want these two to be the same. And they just aren't. Now whose fault is that? It's mine. It's my fault for thinking that a studio makes games. Studios don't make games. People do. And each person who makes a game brings their own expertise and experiences. And as much as a studio can foster a certain culture and attract talent, at the end of the day, these people are not these people. And that's okay. That being said, when I made my video talking about the Marathon cinematic, which if you haven't seen, you might want to pause this one and go watch that first, but no pressure. It was fueled by the hope that even though this Bungie is different, that they could still capture the magic of the old Bungie, that they could make a fun, cinematic, emotional experience with guns, adventure, and mystery. And honestly, I think they still can. While my hope had all but faded, holding on to the cinematic for dear life, Bungie did something that genuinely surprised me. They released a Vidoc, an update on the progress with Marathon.
We heard loud and clear from the alpha, the world didn't feel dangerous. The world didn't feel lived in.
And it looks good, or at least better. I'm not going to lie and say that watching this Vidoc changed everything. I'm still bummed that Marathon isn't a single-player adventure game with a traditional campaign, and then multiplayer on top. I still think that would have been really cool. The handcrafted experience of going through a level, not worrying about getting sniped by a full-time streamer while trying to complete the next quest just to learn more about the story. But to be honest, I was probably always going to give the game a go. At $40, that's not too bad. And even with the disappointments that have shown up along the way, it was something I was looking forward to. So if I was always going to give this game a try, what did this Vidoc change my opinion about? Well, on Bungie. A long time ago, I gave up on Bungie. For years now, I felt like all they cared about was money. And yes, I know that's all anyone cares about, but there's a difference between caring about money and only caring about money. Between the subscription services and Eververse store and archived content and the ever-increasing cost just to keep up with Destiny, it felt like they didn't care about creating a good experience for the sake of a good experience. They only cared about you buying more cosmetics. They aren't alone in this. Maybe 90% of the AAA industry is like that right now. But I just kind of wanted, or at least hoped, that Bungie would be different, like a bastion of creativity, where fun triumphed over quarterly gains and corporate expectations. That's why when everything was hitting the fan for them last year with the Marathon playtest, I kind of just accepted that things probably weren't going to get any better, because it takes true passion and love to dig a game out of a rut. Watching this Vidoc, I actually thought, I think these guys care, that they really want this to be a good game. Like, they listened to the feedback, and I think they're trying to improve. Now, maybe it's a trick, because at the end of the day, if the game isn't good and doesn't sell, then they probably will all lose their jobs.
If this isn't cleaned up when I get back, you're fired!
So, there's some incentive there. But you know what they say? Fool me once, call me a dunce, cause the hype is back, baby! I've still got some issues, so I'm going to go through all of the new information from the Vidoc that affects how I'm feeling about the game, positive and negative. I'm not going to do a minute-by-minute breakdown of the entire thing. I'm going to focus on what stood out to me the most. In my last video about Marathon, I said that my excitement for the game was at a 10 out of 100. Now, with these updates, I'm going to adjust my score and we'll see where I end up by the end of this video. So put your feet up, grab an ultimatum with Himalayan ketchup, and let's dive in. And just a disclaimer, if you hate everything about Bungie and this game, if you think the plagiarism scandal is enough to never touch it, I respect that. I totally understand. There's a lot of stuff there, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. And on the flip side, if you're really excited about Marathon and have been from day one unwavering in your zealotry, I respect that as well. All are welcome here. This is simply how I feel about the game at this point in time. The visuals.
One of the things we've really focused on is making sure the environments are selling the tone we want to hit with the game.
The visuals are much better. By improving the lighting and the textures, they've helped the world look more gritty, dark, and real, and I'm really appreciating it. I have been a fan of the art direction from the beginning, but narratively, it didn't make sense for it to feel so clean, especially with the suspense and slight horror vibes that I think they wanted the game to have. So this added level of grit, along with just generally improving the in-game visuals and environments, I think will help create that immersion. I'm loving all of the little details like the dirt and the weather changes. It's looking a lot closer to what we were given in the cinematic, and that is a huge deal. I'm not going to play a game just because it looks good. Unreal Engine makes it really easy to have good looking games these days, but style is different than just higher fidelity or more realistic assets, and style takes time and effort to perfect. Now, time to address the anti-real in the room. There seems to have been some confusion about where the design language of the game comes from, and so I'll give a brief explanation of what I understand about the plagiarism situation and why I'm still excited to see this world in action. Joe Cross was the art director for the game. For the last couple of years, he guided the vision to follow the style of graphic realism. He did not invent it. He simply was the one to shepherd the studio in that direction, creating a visually striking look. There are a lot of people who simply don't like this style.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Personally, I really like it. I feel like a lot of first and third person shooters have lost their visual identity in the attempt to draw players in with skins and collaborations. It's fine with games like Fortnite, where that's literally their whole thing. But when you've got a cartoon character in Call of Duty, it's just immersion breaking and kind of weird. And then on the flip side, there are plenty of gritty and grounded FPS games out there that commit to a more realistic style of warfare, like Battlefield and Tarkov. So I think choosing a style that stands out compared to the competition was a smart move. Plus, it's cool. It feels futuristic and otherworldly, an extreme version of humanity's future, and I'm here for it. There are a lot of artists who like this style and have created portfolios to show this off. One such artist is Anti-Real. In 2017, they shared some sick poster designs that were completely original. Now imagine how shocked they were to see their posters in a marathon playtest years later, and not just something similar to their designs, but straight up the posters copied in the game. So Anti-Real brought it up on social media. And honestly, they seemed kind of reluctant to even point it out. But when you're an artist and you pour your heart and soul into your work, not to mention you're also trying to pay your bills, when plagiarism so blatant occurs, you have to stand up for yourself. Sadly, I feel like there's probably a lot more plagiarism like this all over the entertainment industry. Usually the companies are more sneaky about it and do it in a way that allows their lawyers to protect them, and they have the financials to be able to squash any individual's attempt to seek restitution.
We had a deal.
Crossies doesn't count.
But in this case, there was nothing Bungie could do. They were caught red-handed. This is where my opinion of things is nuanced. Plagiarism is bad. No nuance there. But when Bungie addressed the situation, they said that it had occurred because an employee who used to work at the company used the posters in a temp texture pack. And when the employee left the company, the communication channels failed to point out that the texture pack had never been updated. And so the leaders didn't know or notice until it was too late. To many, that all probably sounds like corporate BS, shifting the blame. But I actually believe them. Maybe I am the biggest dupe ever. That's totally a possibility. But I've worked on some projects for my job where some temporary assets have been used to help show an idea or vision, and then the communication just breaks down and it ends up making it way further down the line than it should. Eventually it does get caught because there are safeguards and quality control systems, but it is within the world of possibility that something like this could occur. Bungie still should have caught it. Those systems and quality control should have been in place to catch this. So at the end of the day, Bungie messed up big time. And it isn't the first time that they've done something like this. But these creators, the team working on Marathon, I think genuinely did not mean to. I watched the live stream last year where they had to address the situation. And I don't know, maybe they're incredible actors. I mean, obviously no one wants to be in that awkward situation, but they genuinely just felt sad and awful for everything that had happened. And not in a we're in trouble way, but in a how could we have let this happen? That's just my opinion, and I could be totally wrong. The only good news about it is that they did come to a deal with Anti-Real, paying them what I hope was a really huge chunk of money. At the end of the day, it seems like Anti-Real is okay with it, and that helps me feel okay with still supporting the game. And then last thing about the art style and the plagiarism. I saw some people in the comments say that Alberto Mielgo, the creator of the cinematic short, created the style, or that he was implicated in the controversy, and just some misinformation or misunderstanding there. Alberto created the film based on the world and characters already created by Joseph Cross and his team, and it was in the style of graphic realism. Alberto Mielgo did not create graphic realism. Joseph Cross did not create graphic realism. Anti-Real did not create the style of graphic realism, but Anti-Real did make art in that style, and Bungie did steal that art, and Alberto Mielgo knew nothing about that, and his film doesn't even reflect or use the stolen assets. I'm just trying to say he's perfect, so leave him alone. He's an artist. Let him do his thing. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. The improved in-game art has raised my excitement from a 10 out of 100 to a 40 out of 100. Big jump, I know, but getting closer to what that cinematic felt and looked like is a huge win. The runners. I played Apex Legends for 5 years. Oh no, that's like over 6,000 hours. In my defense, I would leave my Xbox on sometimes, like on the main menu. You know, I would turn off my TV, but forget that I'd left my Xbox on. Terrible for the world and power consumption. I'm getting better at it. Anyway, there's no way I played that many hours of the game. You get the idea. I played Apex for a long time, and I had a lot of fun. But eventually, I stopped playing, and I'll make a video about that soon. You know, there's lots of good and bad there, but there was one thing that really bothered me the entire time. And as far as I know, it's never been addressed by Respawn or any of the developers. How the heck do the legends keep coming back if they're dying? And how am I playing against another legend that looks just like me? I know that it's just kind of part of the hero shooter genre, like no one cared in Overwatch, it was just a fun game. But when you're someone like me who gets invested in the story, watches all of the cinematics, reads the comics, and pays the equivalent to weeks worth of food just so my guy can carry a scythe around, no regrets, I just want a little tiny bit of continuity. My headcanon is that they're actually like digital doubles or even clones, and that's why when you die in one round, you can come back in another. But there's no lore to promote that. Except with Revenant, who was my main, he does actually like have something that could make that make sense. Either way, it just bothered me. And I just felt like the Papyrus guy.
You know what you did? I know what you did!
So when Marathon announced it was a hero shooter, I was bummed. Because I was excited to play it, but was I really prepped to invest years into another game that was going to high-key play on my already developing psychosis?
As a runner, you're a biocybernetic mercenary who's traded their human body for a biosynthetic one. They are not people. You are the person. You go into that shell and adopt the personality matrix that is specifically designed to help you do the thing that you need to do.
Oh my gosh. Did they just fix it? I had to rewatch this part multiple times just to make sure I understood correctly. But it sounds like the narrative canon is that you play as a runner, a digital entity that can download into various shells with pre-made abilities, and when that shell dies, you go back to the cloud. And then you can go back into the same shell or pick a different one depending on what you need for that particular mission? That is actually really cool. It maintains the fantasy that you are the runner, and the loot and progress you make is actually your character's journey and story. Guys, it's like Halo Reach. My favorite first-person shooter ever, maybe tied with the finals. And yes, they also did it with Destiny. So honestly, it was just kind of weird that they chose to stop with Marathon. Okay, this narrative fix is not a perfect solution. You can tell that it's more of a recent pivot based on the feedback. This really was originally going to be a hero shooter, and going from giving the heroes names and personal lore to making them shells that you can pick does have some complications. Like, for example, the voice lines are going to be left over. And so if I'm playing a stealth guy, does that mean I'm going to say, I like to be stealthy every time, even if I'm in a different skin? I feel like narratively it would make more sense, for my digital consciousness to have its own lines of dialogue that it would say regardless of what shell it's in, And does the shell affect what voice I have or what I'm thinking or who I am? Hopefully they write stuff to kind of like reason that out, but it's not a perfect one-to-one, but I'm really grateful they're trying. Editing Astrogard here. Just to add to the voiceover bit, we see that they've released who the voice actors are going to be for the game, and we don't know what roles each person are playing, but as you can see, the list is stacked. So when it comes to my concern of the quality that the narrative is going to have, this actually alleviates quite a bit, because if you're going to put the time into hiring such talented voice actors, that means you're probably going to put effort into good writing, and good writing is usually part of a good story. We're still going to have the locked-in abilities of the shells, and the cosmetics don't seem that customizable, which is very similar to Apex. So that part is still not a huge win for me, because I would love to be able to mix and match abilities, even if that's hard to balance. I'm like, let's just have fun. I'm also somebody who doesn't super care about balance. Like, if somebody wants to play a gun because it wins 10% more of the time, then do that, I'm going to play with whatever gun feels the most fun. And if I lose because of that sometimes, then great. If you're losing every time because you're not using the meta, then yeah, that is a problem. Anyways, I like customization, and I do wish that there was a way to just create your own shell from the ground up. That's a totally different game, I think, at this point, and that's not what they've made. That's fine. I think this narrative change, this justification of why you can be in the same map as someone else who looks just like you works really well, because it just adds to the experience of like, that's another runner who downloaded into the same shell, and like, oh, they even have the same model as me. Well, I'm gonna kill them, because the model doesn't make the man, you know what I mean? So huge win. And if the game is fun to play, I can get over a lot of these things. At the end of the day, cosmetics are a perk. They shouldn't be the reason you play a game. But if the story doesn't make sense, if there's a huge plot hole right in your face every match, it can wear an Astroguard down. This takes me from a 40 out of 100 to 65.
Nice.
The story. In my previous video, I expressed disappointment that we weren't going to get a single-player campaign and how I wanted a good story. My intention wasn't to say that Marathon didn't already have a good story, but more that I would love to experience its story in a more traditional linear way. So it's my bad for not wording that better. Like, I don't just want a list of things to read that explain the world. As cool as that is, and I read lore stuff all the time, like I'm just getting into Warhammer, there are stories, there are books, there's narratives, and then there's just lore. Codexes of just stuff about the factions. So I'm down for both, but I really also love an immersive narrative experience that involves my character with ups and downs and plot devices that make me feel things. I've heard that the AI from the different factions play a cool part in how the story works in Marathon, so I'm excited about that. And then in the Vidoc, they've mentioned that there will be events that unfold in different maps that will help you learn more about Tau Ceti and what happened to the people there. So that's something I'm really looking forward to as well. I do have a worry about the story, just based off of like the teasers and the cinematic and stuff. I really hope it's more than just the 4 killing stuff. The 4 are an alien race from the first games, really strong and cool and stuff. And like, if we go through all of this just to find out that the settlement was killed by the 4 and that's it, I'd be like, well, that wasn't really a mystery, But there's lots of other cool stuff. The anomaly, Durandal, the different factions, interests. So I think there will be something more complex. I've also gotten more excited about the idea of exploring the Marathon ship, and actually getting to see some of it was awesome. I feel like this is a really cool goal to have, to collect better gear, take some risks so that you can go to the Marathon and see it for yourself. I'm sure everything will be spoiled online on day one from streamers who play 24/7, but I'm going to do my best to discover stuff myself and avoid spoilers where I can. If I can't have the single-player campaign traditionally, I can at least try to craft that experience for myself. This takes me from a 65 out of 100 to an 80. And then they added a single player mode and proximity chat. I'm very happy about this. I think these should have been in the game day one, so I'm not gonna give them huge points for that, but it's important nonetheless. I would say this gets me up to an 87.33 repeating. And finally, the gunplay looks as beautiful as it did on day one. That's one thing I've never had a complaint about. The guns look cool and unique, and you can't deny that Bungie has a way of making it feel so smooth and exciting to use the weapons they create.
Mods will basically allow you to increase certain stats on the guns, that battery SMG. The gold mod, full-blown, turns it into the Needler.
A Needler? I like how they were just, we know what you Halo freaks want. I love the Needler. Who doesn't love making people explode after loading them chock full of tiny crystals of energy? My final score, 92 out of 100. What can I say? I like what I saw. The big question, have they succeeded in making a game that will feel like the cinematic trailer? I don't know. The only way to find out is to play, and I'll be there on day one. I'll see you all on the Marathon. Editing Astroguard again. So Bungie has continued to release media as I've been working on this video, and I just wanted to quickly address some of the things. As with any game, there's the pre-orders, and I personally am against pre-ordering games. I think that it enables companies to take advantage of hype without actually delivering anything. I was one of the fools that pre-ordered the deluxe edition of Anthem based off of pure hype. And I played it for about 2, maybe 3 days before it ran out of content. And so as excited as I am to play Marathon on day one, I'm just not going to pre-order or pay more than the base value. And then with the deluxe collector's edition, I mean, that kind of just feels like a cash grab. Obviously, not a lot of people will even be able to get it. And if you are going to get it, it's because you're just really invested and excited in the universe. And that's great. The model looks cool, and it does come with a worm. I'm not gonna do it, but that is tip. I mean, I wish they just sold the worm by itself, but. And then, there's this conversation of whether it's going to compete with Arc Raiders or not, and that's a whole nother thing, but my 2 cents about it is that I think Arc Raiders will continue to have a strong social media presence the way the game is built. Those kind of interactions can easily go viral and create these community moments. Marathon, with its more competitive style of play, will be less likely to create those viral clips, less likely to grow past its core community. I'm not going to say that it can't. I do think we'll get a really good competitive scene, whether that's actual tournaments or just the internal drive to be better. And because of that, I think it can be a game that can stand the test of time. Because if you have this core audience that is really invested, then they can sustain it without it needing to be hundreds of thousands of concurrent players every month. There are lots of pre-orders, and even though I'm against that, that is a sign that people are at least excited, and maybe it will be bigger than we thought. I'm sure there's lots of information that I'm not addressing that you are interested in, so I recommend that you check out other channels like Jake the Alright or Scaro9. They're even doing a podcast talking about specifically Marathon, and it's been really enjoyable so far. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Astrogard. I make videos about games and other stuff I like. If you enjoyed this emotional rant, then please leave a like and let me know in the comments if the Vidoc changed your perception of the game. If you want to watch some other videos I've made, please go check them out. And of course, feel free to subscribe. Your support means the world.